Welcome to today's talk, where we're going to share tips for small business owners. My name is Regina DeMeo, and I'm a family law attorney in Maryland and DC. I've been practicing for over 20 years, and a lot of my clients are small business owners. So today I have the pleasure of having Pam Saul of Saul Bookkeeping, who's going to share some tips for people during COVID-19. Thanks so much for being here, Pam.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So in light of COVID, what are the most common changes that some of your small business clients have been implementing?
So a lot of them have looked at what they are doing in their business and conforming to what they're now allowed to do. Just like we've seen restaurants that can't have anyone on the inside, and so they're doing deliveries and curbside. So are some of my small businesses. I have one young lady who had a tutoring company, and the kids would come into her office to tutor. Well, she has moved it now to all online tutoring and has actually increased her number of students that she has tutoring by using the web. So, some of the businesses are able to make changes that work in this current situation and some aren't. So it just depends on what they're doing.
So during COVID, what are the most commonly sought after resources that like the PPP that we're hearing about a lot, or other government assistance programs? What are the resources that your clients are looking into?
So there's several. On the state level, many states have a grant, the ability to have a grant. Maryland had a $10,000 grant for small businesses that was set up very early. Also with the PPP, which is through the Small Business Association, that's also a loan that can be forgiven by a percentage. And there's also EIDL, which is also with the Small Business Association. Along with all those, you have several larger businesses that are giving people breaks, whether it's your insurance, auto insurance, and they're giving you a refund on your premium because you didn't drive your car as long, or it could be that credit cards are putting aside interest and penalties at this point. So there are a lot of different things that can be looked at when you have a business right now.
Yeah, I know for sure. I went through all of my expenses wherever I could slash costs, and yeah, and then it's about pivoting, yes. Learning how you can pivot. So what tips do you have for business owners about documenting how they use those grants or the forgivable loans?
Right. So a lot of what they're asking for are things that you should have as a business owner. And I can tell you, I've had quite a few people call me and say, I haven't done my 2018 or my 2019 taxes. And you need those. Yes, it takes a pandemic to get some people out of the procrastination. But I've had quite a number of people who haven't had their tax return done, and they're doing it now. This is the time to get caught up. This is the time to make sure you have it. The other thing that you want to keep is if you have employees, you better have your payroll records. So you need to keep track of who you paid, how much their gross payroll was, and how much you paid in taxes. And then you should be able to have the documentation, whether it's with your bank statement that shows that you paid a payroll company, if it's ADT or paycheck. You want to be able to show that information when they go to get the documentation from you. So right now, paper is king. You need to have copies of it. Either have a copy of the report that comes out of your QuickBooks file that shows payroll and all the taxes that you paid with it, or get those reports from your payroll company. You have to have documentation.
So usually my understanding is that loans that are forgiven are taxable income, but it sounds like there's some exceptions that are going to be made for 2020.
Right. So the difference for the PPP is that what we're recommending is that when you get that money in, you put it in your books as a loan, and you keep it there as a loan so it's on your balance sheet. And then afterwards, when they tell you how much is going to be forgiven, you'll pull that amount in as income. Now, it also has to be put aside, not only the income part that you get, but the expenses part. So any expense that's covered by that PPP loan doesn't become part of your expenses for the year. It's like it gets put in its own little bubble. So the income and the expense both match in the same bubble and can't be used on your regular tax return. So what we're recommending is that you create a PPP expense account and you create the loan account, and then when it transfers in as income, you create a specific income account for that PPP money that you don't have to give back.
And is there a certain time frame in which to use that money?
Yes, so now it could change tomorrow, so we'll just go with what today is, but it started out being 6 weeks, or I'm sorry, 8 weeks, and now it's 24 weeks. So they've changed it. It's also, one of the big things is originally it was 75% had to be payroll. They've now moved that down to 60%. So there are calculations that you have to make on the number of employees full-time employees, FTE, full-time employees, that you had in a period in 2019. And then you have to calculate the same period during when you have the loan amount, and there are calculations that tell you how much you get to write off. So it's a lot. You have to, a lot of instructions, a lot of numbers.
Yeah, so it sounds like 2020 is going to be an interesting year for you as a bookkeeper.
Yeah, and also remember your tax return for 2019 was extended to July 15th. So normally I don't sleep until April 15th. This year I'm not sleeping until July 15th.
Wow, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have any additional tips that you'd like to give to small business owners during this crisis?
Well, if you're still out and you're not being able to do your job, whatever it happens to be, talk to your vendors. They'll understand. Maybe you can do something where you put things off for 30, 60, 90 days instead of having a bill that you usually pay 30 days. See if they'll let you go to 60 days. Or think about maybe adding a service that you haven't had before that maybe you can do now during this, change, when everybody's changing and there are different things that you can do. See if there's something that you can add to your services that's different that you've had before. That's something that you might be able to add and be able to use even after all this is over. I mean, because we don't know when it's going to be over. So if your business is out right now, you may need to do some soul searching on what you want to do going forward. And this would be a good time to do that.
Yeah, no, I procrastinated for the longest time going through lots of documents. And finally, this was the period where I'm like, I'm going to get rid of those boxes. So I feel like I lost 11 pounds just by losing 11 boxes that got shredded.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So this has been great. If people want to reach you and ask me more questions, what's the best way for them to reach you?
So I'm kind of working 24/7 right now. So if they want to give me a phone call, or if they want to text, email, or contact me through my website, I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone who has any questions. Also, if they're really not sure what they can do, I work with a lot of different CPAs because I do the bookkeeping side. I don't do the tax side. I do the bookkeeping side. So I can help get you the documents together that you need to give to your CPA for your taxes, or in order to figure out your PPP loan. So I can do that, the EIDL. If you have any state monies that you need to track, I can help you with that. And basically what we need to do is set up the bookkeeping so you can track it in your books. So when the end of it and you have to have your documentation, I can help you with that.
Perfect. So that's the correct information on the screen here?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So if you want to watch more episodes and follow me on social media, my handle is GenXSmarty. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please tune in next time. Pam, thanks so much for doing this today.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Absolutely.